What's going on, guys? So this is a little late night video. I got distracted because I had to rotate my plant. This plant wasn't getting enough love and started to not do so well. And I probably spent an hour pruning it and giving it food and water and love. So hopefully this guy will get back to where he was. But regardless of that, I had someone call me tonight who apparently needed some guidance with getting started with the drone game, and I figured a lot of the questions he asked me gave me a good idea for a video. Why don't I just talk openly about some of the stuff that he wanted to know and hopefully share it with others so you guys can maybe get a little input on what it takes to get going. And just so you guys know my background, I'm a longtime photographer. So I've been taking pictures for probably 22 years now. So the photography thing is very ingrained in me, so that's not anything I have to figure out, thankfully. So I kind of am very familiar with composition and color correction and knowing what looks good visually. So that's a big part of the equation that I maybe have a little bit of an edge on because I have that experience behind me before I got into the drone game. So just because you're a good drone pilot doesn't ensure you're a good photographer or videographer and vice versa. So the photography thing definitely helped out. And he wanted to know basically how I got started. So just so you guys are aware how I got started in the photography, my family, I was adopted. Long story short, our family had a lot of money. We had a horrible bankruptcy. I ended up on my front lawn in my house with all my furniture. So I'm on my front lawn getting evicted from an $800,000 house with all my furniture in my front yard, sitting, contemplating life, and essentially realized I'm either gonna have a really bad thing happen or I'm gonna kind of use it as a rebirth kind of moment. And I utilized that experience and shift in my life to go and do something and explore something that I actually wanted to do and tap into my creative side. So I went back to school for photography and I got tattoos, and actually my tattoo artist and his wife, they're very, very big influences in me creatively, because even Michelle Wortman, who is Guy Aitchison's wife, but she's an amazing artist on her own right. And she was into photography and she had a really unique eye and vision. And I liked to take pictures with her and just see what she was up to. And she had just such a creative eye visually and thought outside the box, really painterly with her photography composition. And I love that unique take on it, because you see a lot of people always following the rule of thirds and all this bullshit that isn't necessarily the best visual representation of something like a flower or nature. It doesn't mean it has to be perfectly balanced or centered or on a rule of third grid line, whatever it may be. But just seeing something really unique and different really struck a chord. And I guess the point of this is everyone has to find their own inspirations. People, art, creativity, whatever it may be, nature. So look within yourself to what you are inspired by. It doesn't necessarily need to be a person. It doesn't need to be a drone pilot. It doesn't need to be a YouTube person. It doesn't need to be anything. It can be Van Gogh. It can be music. It can be anything that strikes a chord within you to create. And that's kind of what you have to pay attention to. So for me, it was tattoo artists and painters and seeing all these people do all this stuff really uniquely and visually in a way, like my tattoo artist who just did some really cool stuff. And I just was so drawn to it. And I utilized that visual and that color and that vibrancy in my own photography. And it wasn't by any kind of pre-planned kind of thing. It just happens. And that's one of the things I would always say. People who want to say, like, how do you get your own style? It will just happen organically. Just trust the flow and let it kind of happen in the time that it's meant to happen and kind of unfold, you know, and you'll see one day it will all kind of click together and you're like, wow, like this is kind of my own unique look, and you'll own it. So regardless, he kind of wanted to know a little bit about that, about how I got started. So again, photography is my background for a long time. When I was in Hawaii, a friend of mine who was a vet actually had a drone. He had a Phantom 4 Pro, and he didn't give a crap about the drone. He just had it and flew it, and like, whatever, you can take it whenever you want, fly it whenever you want. He wasn't one of those guys who was super protective. He just basically said, take it, go fly, do what you want. It's easy, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just get it up in the air and do your thing, and the thing hovers, and this is how you know, so I mean, it was basically, he knew I could fly at least decent enough, and I was taking pictures. So I just flew it around, cruised in Hawaii, and kind of practiced. But that was my first taste of drones, probably 5-6 years ago, with the Phantom 4 Pro in Hawaii. And I had no idea what I was doing. I was taking pictures, and I was kind of getting the taste of seeing stuff from the air creatively and trying to compose, and just had no real concept of even flying video or cinematically, or kind of getting movements that wasn't even in my subconscious yet. So that was the taste, and that was the start. And essentially just kind of toyed around with drones. I didn't even have the money to buy a drone. I was borrowing a friend's Spark at the time, and then I think I got a Mavic Air. Literally, I couldn't afford a drone. So I was basically flying anything I could. I got a job in Hawaii where they gave me a Phantom 4 Pro to use in trade for some content that I was getting for them. So that was my second Phantom 4 Pro, and that was kind of my segue into getting a little bit deeper into drone life. And then when the pandemic hit, I basically decided to get my 107. I heard a lot about the 107. I had no idea. I heard 107, 103, and I didn't really know what it entailed. And I stumbled across all these videos online, on YouTube, and they all basically sucked and weren't clicking with me. And I went to Pilot Institute, and I kind of stumbled across them and Greg, and downloaded the course and got it, and it was actually amazing. So during the pandemic and that lockdown, I think it was 2020, I got my 107, and basically that changed everything. Now I actually felt confident about knowing what I was doing with the drone, and I could say, hey, I'm a licensed 107 pilot, and work started to come in. He wanted to know about the business side of things. I'm not the best business guy. I just produce content basically that's decent, I think, enough, and continuously enough, and I put it out there, and people see, and they hire me. And it's kind of like that, whether it's Facebook, but I deleted my Facebook account, so I don't have Facebook as an option anymore, but I have a new website being built. I spent a decent amount of money on it. My friends in Peru are web designers and developers and marketers, and it cost me a couple grand, but probably would have cost me $4 or $5 grand in the US, but my guys in Peru are rock star, and they're really good at SEO and all the WordPress stuff. So they're going to build out a really nice website that's going to be dropping hopefully within the next 2 or 3 months. And it's going to be called AlohaFilmCompany.com. That's going to be my name for my company, for my business. It's going to have a little Atort Aerials subsidiary kind of thing. So the parent company is going to be AlohaFilmCompany.com. But I'm going to hopefully step up my game with that. I'm going to try to get back to Hawaii by fall, winter time, and really try to make a mark with my drone work and my videography and my underwater videography in Hawaii basically this winter. So that's going to be my test run essentially. But a few things he was wanting to know, like, what do I do first? I said, basically, learn how to fly well, learn how to compose well, do your visual push-ups every day creatively, because that's a big part of this composition and composing and seeing life and seeing things visually in a really beautiful, unique way to separate yourself from the crowd. Another thing, maybe, is just get a website. So get some kind of basic website. That would be a good start. Get business cards, get your name, so you can hand out business cards and hustle and actually get to people. So basically, if you're out and about, say, hey, I'm a licensed drone pilot. If you ever need anything, you know, hit me up, blah, blah, blah. Super easy, not a hard sell. And just hand out a bunch of business cards to everyone you get. And so what? They cost, what, $200-300 for 5,000 or 2,000 or something? Just hand them away, whore them out. So hustle, put those cards in everyone's hand, and actually have a website for them to go to and land on when you hand them the business card. So maybe have your social media stuff, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, have your contact info, phone number, email, have a nice design, simple business card that's clean and professional and catches someone's eye. and that's it. So that's a good little thing to start out with. Have a website so you have some web presence, and have a business card to hand out. That's a good first thing to do when starting out, to get some kind of word out there that you're actually doing this. And again, the 107 is huge, and I would highly recommend pilotinstitute.com. I'll put my affiliate link below so you guys have that in case you want to click. It will help me out a little bit, but at the same time, it will help you guys out, get your 107. And honestly, getting your 107 unleashes the ability to make money with your drones. And that's the bottom line, and that's the reality. So if you want to make money legally, you have to have your 107. There's that. And also it gives you the confidence to go forward and talk to people in a confident manner and not guess what you're doing, and practice. Practice is another huge thing. Sit with the water tower and just orbit that thing 100 times and do that kind of stuff every single day. Maybe you add another movement. Do an orbit and then gain altitude. Do an orbit, gain altitude and lower the gimbal. Do an orbit, gain altitude, lower the gimbal and fly backwards. I mean, add 3, 4, 5 axis movements into your repertoire, I guess. Was that a good word? Repertoire. Add it into your arsenal of tools, because when you separate yourself from everyone else by adding nicer movements, guess what? You're gonna look, you don't even have to say anything. People are gonna notice, and people who are in the industry, like drone pilots, will see like, wow, this guy's really flying super well. He's not just sitting there and doing these stupid, lame 1-axis, 2-axis movements. He's, you know, flying beautifully and composing well and doing long drawn out movements. So again, just shoot continuously, shoot every day, fly every day, compose every day, do different visual workouts and push-ups, like I said, every day. What else was he asking? Yeah, I mean, of course, if you don't have a photography background like myself, you have to practice that side of things. Say you see a scene, yes, I can capture it very accurately because I have a lot of experience, but if you're not familiar with f-stop and shutter speed and shooting video, for example, if you're shooting, say, for example, 24 frames a second, you're gonna have your shutter speed at 1/50th of a second. If you're shooting 30 frames a second, you're gonna have it at 1/60th of a second, and blah, 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 160 frames per second, 1/20th of a second, that whole kind of thing. So you need to have an understanding of why you're gonna be doing that, when you're gonna be doing that. An aperture, you need to know that f11 is gonna have a smaller diaphragm opening, f2.8 is gonna have a larger, letting in more light. So you have to have the basic understanding of the photography principles if you're not familiar with any of that to begin with. So if you're starting out completely from scratch, it is gonna take some time, but again, go easy on yourself, practice, go slow, there's no rush. I mean, literally it's those kinds of adages like one day at a time, you know, go easy on yourself. Don't be comparing yourself to everyone else. It will come in due time. I mean, when I first started flying, as I said, in Hawaii with the Phantom 4 Pro that my friend let me borrow, I had no idea of taking videos and doing cinematic flying. That wasn't even, as I said, in my subconscious. So I was just taking pictures, cruising around, flying around, having fun with it. I had no idea about laws or how high I should fly or not. So it all comes with time. But this is why I'm doing these videos and doing something like this, because hopefully it will help accelerate you guys a little bit faster than it did me. And a big part of that is going to Greg at Pilot Institute and getting your 107, because Greg has a wealth of knowledge about a lot of stuff. He has deep dive drone courses, depending on the drone you get. He has the 107 course, he has a business course. So he has all kinds of stuff that's really helpful for you guys starting out. So I would check Greg out with Pilot Institute. He's super awesome. I think he's in France right now, so can't get in touch with him, but you can go to the website and at least enroll. And that's gonna be your key to getting money coming in with your drones, bottom line. So if I had one key thing, get a drone and get your 107, but not in that particular order. Get your 107 first if you have no drone. Borrow a drone, get a Mini 2, whatever it is, just get your 107 so you have that information, and take, you know, little courses, read books on photography, basic 101, and just practice. So I'm hoping this helps. I don't know what else he was asking. He was asking, I mean, again, composing things, practicing your flying, you know, getting a website, getting business cards, hustling, and showing people what you can do. I mean, you can talk the talk, but if you actually have a website with some beautiful videos, guess what? People will go, this guy's legit. And he wanted some feedback on a video, and he, you know, it wasn't bad. It could have been a lot better. It could have been a lot worse, but he was incorporating some still pictures into the video. And to me, if you're going to shoot a video, shoot a video. If you're adding still pictures all over, in my mind, it kind of means that you're trying to add some fluff or filler because you can't fly well enough or something like that. I just don't like adding a bunch of still pictures, maybe one or two, but it just doesn't look good with a bunch of stills, in my opinion. Shoot video, that's what you have these drones for, and fly them well, and that's kind of it. So just a late night little ramble, but this guy Justin, who was really nice, I hopefully helped him out a little bit. He had a lot of kind words, and I believe I inspired him and some others, and I'm hoping I can inspire you guys. A lot of people inspire me out on YouTube, and other creators and content creators and artists and tattoo artists and painters. So there's a lot of people who inspire me, and I'm hoping to inspire you guys as well. And as I said, even on a job today, you know, kindness is free. Be cool to people. If people question what you're doing, don't be an asshole. Be nice. Be a good representative for the drone community, because it's not going to help any of us out if someone says, hey, you shouldn't be flying over our house, and we act like a jerk. Be kind about it. I mean, yes, there's people who are just not cool, but guess what? The majority of people, if you treat them with respect and you treat them with kindness and you're really not threatening, they'll see that, you know? I mean, whether I have my shirt on that says practice loving kindness or compassion or whatever it may be, some kind of really obvious, nice saying, I think you kind of diffuse people, and having that vest on, for example, showing that you're doing something, you're not hiding, you're not trying to be sneaky. All of those little things help out when you're actually on a job. But this was more about just some little things that will give you guys a little bit of inspiration going forward and trying to make money with your drones. Understand photography, understand videography basics, photography basics, understand your drone basics, understand your drone laws, your airspace with your 107. That all comes with the 107 training. But practice flying and practice when you're not busy with a job. If you're a pro, I mean, if you're doing this commercially or professionally, I mean, even myself, I take my Inspire out, I fly it around town. People wonder what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm doing sometimes. I'm just flying to get the thing out in the air and practice shots and practice with different lenses and see what, there's so much to know about certain drones and different kinds of flight intelligent modes. So practice. That's one of the cool things about this industry, whether it's photography, videography, drone pilots. You learn something new every day, or you have the ability to learn something new every day. There's no way you're going to know every single thing about photography ever. I don't care how far along you are. You can be 50 years into the photography world, and I guarantee I can tell someone something that they didn't know, whether it's about an iPhone, an app, or an iOS thing, or video editing, or retouching on an iPhone. There's always something you can learn, essentially. So that's the beauty of this profession. So welcome that and be open to it and accepting of it. And instead of being competitive and being petty and goofy and having your ego, just be cool and be kind and, you know, help support everyone. So anyway, that's it, guys. Good night, peace, and aloha.